The first time Kao Young tried to disappear, she was 14. Standing on the edge of the school rooftop, the wind tugging at her uniform, she wondered if anyone would even notice she was gone. But just as she closed her eyes, a voice cut through the chaos in her mind. There are a million other ways to solve your problems. It was Suho, the boy everyone adored. And in that moment, he became the anchor she didn't know she needed. Little did she know, saving her life would only be the beginning of a tangled web of love, betrayal, and the fight to finally see herself as more than just the girl who wasn't pretty enough. Our story begins many years ago when our heroine, Kei Young, was born into a loving family with her father, mother, brother, and sister. Her arrival brought immense joy to the household, and on her first outing, her family proudly carried her through the neighborhood. Their nosy neighbors, who were as gossipy as characters from a classic drama. The neighbors glanced at Ju Young, their eyes widening with curiosity, and remarked to her mother, "Unfortunately, Ka Young grew up believing she was unattractive. From a young age, the cartoons she watched planted a hopeful idea in her mind. One day, a magical fairy godmother would appear and transform her into a beautiful princess. But as she entered high school, reality hit hard. She met a group of girls who seemed nice at first, but quickly revealed their true colors. They treated her like a servant, forcing her to run errands and mocking her relentlessly. Kai Young developed a crush on a boy who worked at the school cafeteria. He was kind to her, or so she thought, and his smile made her heart skip a beat. In a moment of bravery, she decided to confess her feelings to him during lunch, even preparing sweets as a gesture of her affection. Her hands trembled as she handed him the carefully wrapped treats, her voice barely above a whisper as she stammered out her confession. But when the bullies found out, one of them approached the boy with a sly grin and said, "Are you dating Ka Young? I liked you, you know." Shocked and embarrassed, the boy denied it, his voice rising in panic as he said, "No, that's not true." At home, Ka Young's mom ran a small beauty salon where she did eyebrows, though not very well, to be honest. One day, thugs showed up at the salon, their faces hard and their voices threatening. Ka Young's father had borrowed money he couldn't repay, and now the debt collectors had come to collect. Meanwhile, at school, Ka Young went to meet the boy she liked, hoping for a moment of kindness. But instead, he coldly told her, "I only talk to you out of pity because everyone bullies you. But you've lost your mind if you think I'd ever like you." His words cut deeper than any insult the bullies had thrown at her. The bullies filmed the entire encounter, their laughter ringing in her ear. The bully then snatched the sweets Ka Young had made, crushing them in her hands before tossing them to the ground. The other girls laughed, their voices sharp and cruel, as they filmed the entire encounter. Ka Young stood frozen, her cheeks burning with humiliation as they poured the ruined sweets on her head and posted the video online for everyone to see, humiliating her in front of the entire school. The relentless bullying and humiliation became unbearable, and Ka Young decided to end it all. She went up to the rooftop, the wind tugging at her hair as she stood on the edge, her heart pounding in her chest. Just as she was about to jump, she saw an ad for a memorial photo of a late singer named Won. The image of his smiling face stopped her in her tracks, and for a moment, she hesitated. Suddenly, someone grabbed her from behind. It was Yun Woo, the guy everyone adored. His voice was firm but gentle as he scolded her. "What are you doing? There are a million other ways to solve your problems." She didn't see his face clearly because she wasn't wearing her glasses, but his presence was enough to anchor her. He stayed with her until she calmed down, his steady breathing a comforting rhythm in the chaos of her thoughts. When the elevator in the building broke, Yun Woo carried her down the stairs on his back. She tried to make small talk, her voice shaky as she asked, "Do you know anyone who's attempted suicide before?" He didn't answer, his silence speaking volumes. After they reached the bottom, she thanked him, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know I'm not in a position to give advice, but don't be sad. People who are gone wouldn't want their loved ones to suffer." Her words hung in the air, a fragile attempt at comfort. Ka Young then remembered she'd left a voice message for her mom, a desperate cry for help that she couldn't bear for anyone to hear. She rushed home to delete it before her mom could listen, her heart racing as she fumbled with her phone. But her mom was too busy dealing with her dad, who was in debt and acting foolish. When K-young got home, she found everything calm and realized no one had heard her message. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. She went to her room, her sanctuary, and opened an app where people talked anonymously. She vented about being rejected and humiliated, her fingers flying across the screen as she poured out her pain. People online suggested she try makeup tutorials to improve her appearance. And the next day, her mom told her they were moving back to their old house because of their financial situation. Ju-kyung was relieved to leave her bullies behind and decided to spend her savings on makeup. She locked herself in her room, the soft glow of her desk lamp illuminating her face as she practiced applying foundation, eyeliner, and lipstick. She watched countless tutorials, her determination unwavering as she perfected her technique. When they moved, she was ready to start fresh. She applied her makeup so well that even her parents didn't recognize her at first. At her new school, everyone was impressed by her beauty, their eyes widening as she walked down the hall. But Suho, the boy who had saved her on the rooftop, didn't bother to even look at her. Meanwhile, her brother blackmailed her, threatening to post her old photos without makeup online unless she did his homework. She agreed, cursing him under her breath as she scribbled answers onto his worksheets. Later, she went to a bookstore, the scent of old paper and ink filling her lungs as she browsed the shelves. She ran into Suho again, and they got into a scuffle over a book. She ended up falling on top of him, her heart racing as she scrambled to her feet. He didn't recognize her, but she was terrified he'd figure out who she was. The next day, her older sister dropped her off at school and stayed for a coffee. Ju-kyung noticed her sister seemed interested in one of the teachers, her eyes lingering on him a little too long. After school, Ju-kyung went to buy more makeup, her mind buzzing with thoughts of how to perfect her look. But as she walked down the street, she ran into her old bullies. Her heart sank as she hid behind a wall, her breath catching in her throat. She was running away from the bullies as she almost got hit by a motorcycle. The rider, Seo-jun, another heartthrob, scolded her for being careless. She took his helmet, but he ran off, afraid he was a thug like the others. At school, Ju-kyung learned that Seo-jun and Suho were the two most popular guys, with rival fan clubs. She also found out her friend Soo-jin was childhood friends with Suho. Soo-jin explained that the two guys hated each other now, even though they used to be close. The tension between them was palpable, and Ju-kyung couldn't help but feel caught in the middle. Meanwhile, Suho's estranged father, a famous actor, showed up at his karate dojo. Suho was cold toward him, his anger simmering just beneath the surface. He was still furious about how his father had cheated on his late mother, and the wounds of betrayal were still fresh. His father offered to let him move in, but Suho refused, his voice sharp as he said, "You're not a real father. Stay with the woman you're with now and leave me alone." His words hung in the air, heavy with unresolved pain. The next day, Ju-kyung ran into Suho again at the bookstore. He teased her about the rooftop incident, thinking she was embarrassed about her suicide attempt, while she was actually worried he'd recognize her. They ended up eating together, the tension between them easing slightly as they shared a meal. She gave him a sticker as a gift, calling him her secret friend. And for a moment, it felt like they were in their own little world. At school, Ju-kyung returned Suho's jacket, which she cleaned and tried to act cool. Later, they were playing basketball, and Seo-jun confronted her about the helmet. When they were celebrating Ju-kyung's friend's birthday, the cake accidentally fell on her face, and she ran across the hallway towards the washroom. She collided with Seo-jun but ran as fast as she could to clean herself and fix her makeup. But everybody gathered around her, and she couldn't enter the washroom. That's when Suho came to help her hide her face and escorted her. Racing back to class, Ju-kyung contemplates whether Suho knows what she looks like without makeup or not. Determined to find out, she grabs her brother who claims she's committing fraud by changing her face. For the rest of the day, Ju-kyung struggles to concentrate. She keeps seeing Suho as a vampire and believes he's going to get his revenge. Instead, he simply hands over her science textbook. It's an exhausting day, but when Ju-kyung finally heads home, she receives a call from Suho requesting she show up at the comic store. With the lights flickering, Suho mentions how there's a girl at school just like her. Ju-kyung dances her way around the questions and eventually claims not to be the Ju-kyung he knows. Only the jig is up, and as her mother shows at the comic store and calls out her name, Suho finally uncovers the truth. It turns out, though, he actually found out the truth way before then, courtesy of her package in school. At home, Ju-kyung draws inspiration from her sister, of all people, and watches as she plays video games. She realizes not to give in to fear and to tackle everything head-on. This gives her renewed vigor as she calls out Suho on the school field. Eventually, she begs him not to say anything, which he agrees to do, so if she does everything he tells her to do. In class, Ju-kyung finds herself in familiar territory as she continues to run errands for Suho. However, she's stopped in the hallway by Seo-jun, who demands she hand back his helmet. Only it turns out her brother has actually sold it on a resale app. Meanwhile, Hee-kyung finds an opportune time to speak to the teacher she's crushing over, Han Jun-woo. As his car breaks down, he watches and admires Hee-kyung's handiwork as she changes a tire for him. She's incredibly forward, eventually taking his number and encouraging him to ask her out for a meal. As she leaves, Hee-kyung smoothly tells him to think about the beginning. Elsewhere, Soo-jin receives a message from her mother, asking to come home and have dinner with Mr. Choi. When Hyun-suk heads home, however, the kids are forced to sit opposite each other and repeat "I love you." When Suho messages, Ju-kyung is forced out to pick up a book for him. It's a momentary visit and one that sees her not stick around to hear what he has to say. The next day, Ju-kyung writes a note for Seo-jun, telling him patience is a virtue, and that her brother sold the helmet on a resale app. Whoops. Seo-jun plays it off with his friends as a love letter, though, while Ju-kyung heads back inside. Given how sketchy Ju-kyung has been acting lately, Soo-jin starts to suspect something is up. When she sees her friend talking to Ju-kyung on the stairs, she assumes that Seo-jun is bullying Ju-kyung and heads out to confront him. Ju-kyung is invited up to the rooftop to eat with Suho, only he doesn't actually eat any of it until she encourages him to try the mixed-up food. Ju-kyung asks him for one final task to make sure she's not in his debt anymore, and that includes singing at the school talent show. Instead of singing, Ju-kyung instead shows up and starts dancing on stage. Only it's not actually the talent show competition. It's a teachers' meeting discussing which students will make it into university. Suho happens to be watching, though, and struggles to disguise his smile as Ju-kyung shyly backs away in embarrassment. At home, Ju-kyung heads back and receives a small glimmer of hope when her brother drops off the motorcycle helmet. Afterwards, Ju-kyung reflects on her dual life and notes how even she herself believes she's ugly. Anyway, Ju-kyung heads off to the comic store to see Suho, but bumps into a group of kids on the way. They bully her about her looks and tell the girl to look down at her feet. Ju-kyung is distraught but eventually shows up and hands Suho back his book. As she does, Ju-kyung opens up about how she feels and eventually tells him not to mess around with her feelings. After wrapping her up in his jacket, Suho eventually helps fix up her cut leg. Only as he calls out Ju-kyung's name beforehand, Seo-jun happens to overhear and watches all this take place from afar. At school the next day, Seo-jun confronts Suho and tells him he must be happy after killing his friend. He then hurries up to Ju-kyung, sitting next to her and deciding to eat at the same table. Suho immediately takes offense to this, though, and grabs his former friend, ready to explode. Determined to upstage Suho, he sits with Ju-kyung, but the two come to blows and eventually trade punches. That is, until the teachers get involved and break this up. Despite Suho being the catalyst for all this, it's Seo-jun who takes the brunt of punishment. On the back of this makeshift triangle, Ju-kyung is the talk of the school and told to choose one of the gods. Ju-kyung is suitably standoffish, though, and refuses to choose one of them. When Suho shows up, things are immediately tense until Seo-jun's gang demand he step outside and explain his actions. Suho more than holds his own, though, and following a series of calamitous oral mistakes from Mansik, Seo-jun shows up and diffuses the situation before things turn nasty. Alone, Suho admits that Seyeon tried to find him before he passed away. Something happened between them, seemingly with Suho not believing him, as we see flashes of Seo-jun holding the scruff of his neck and demanding he bring Seyeon back to life. Further flashbacks reveal that Ju-kyung came to him in the comic store while he was crying as a child and helped cheer him up. Interestingly, this mirrors the present too, as Suho sits contemplating what to do while Ju-kyung tries to do the same. After, she calls him her guardian angel, given he's guarding her bare face. As the two start to grow closer together, the Prince Comics owner suddenly shows his face and tells the pair they need to stop looking at adult comics. Flustered, Suho quickly tells Ju-kyung she needs to go home and pushes her out the door. The next day at school, Ju-kyung runs into trouble up at the whiteboard, but Suho is no help to her conundrum as she runs into trouble. With Ju-kyung let off the hook, Seo-jun instead takes to the front of class and takes over the equation. On the way home, Ju-kyung rides the bus as Suho takes his place next to her. They talk about math until a boy called Woo-hyun messages and asks her out on a date. Tellingly, Suho is uncomfortable while she messages him. This is only made worse when another boy jumps on the bus and sits in the middle of them both. At the hospital, Seo-jun heads in to see her mother. Together, they arrive at the beauty salon where Ju-kyung happens to be without makeup. She quickly covers her face, but Seo-jun is quick to retort, "Day back, awesome," upon snapping pictures of her wearing a face mask. After saying goodbye to Seo-jun, Ju-kyung prepares for her date and tries to find a suitable outfit to wear. Unfortunately, this comes in the form of her sister's new clothes that still have the tag on them. After Suho's math exam at school, Ju-kyung heads out to her date at the movies. Only she doesn't realize that Soho happens to be perched in the seats above. He watches as he makes a move on her and leans in to kiss Ju-kyung. Overcome with jealousy, Suho quickly bolts forward and breaks this up. After the movie, Suho watches the pair say goodbye to one another as he hides inside a banner. Realizing what he's doing, he quickly composes himself, but sees that this Woo-hyun character actually has a girlfriend. He even messages Ju-kyung and tells her he misses her. At home, Ju-kyung's mother tries to match Ju-kyung up with Seo-jun, calling him a good kid. The next day at school, Ju-kyung tries to get her own back on Seo-jun, quickly snapping pictures of him riding in on his motorcycle. Now they both have incriminating evidence against one another. As we soon see, Suho was the reason for Woo-hyun's sudden change in behavior, threatening him over Ju-kyung and forcing him to admit the truth. It seems that earlier line about a guardian angel rings true. Believing Seo-jun is showing off her picture to the school, Ju-kyung snatches up his motorcycle keys and races off outside. As she does, Seo-jun grabs her arm just as Suho arrives and sparks the flames of this love triangle. After study class, the kids head to karaoke, where a heavenly voice floats from one of the rooms. That room, as it turns out, holds Seo-jun inside. Ju-kyung doesn't know though, and eventually receives a lift back to the comic store after evading a gang of thugs outside with Seo-jun. At the comic store, Suho happens to be there waiting. Hee-kyung stumbles up drunk though, prompting both boys to take her home. Unfortunately, she throws up on the way all over Suho's jacket and arm. He's absolutely mortified too, as Seo-jun can only cover his face and turn away, retching. With Ju-kyung gone, Suho admits that he likes Ju-kyung, prompting Seo-jun to sneer and decide he should like her too. The next day at school, Ju-kyung shows up looking as radiant as ever as Seo-jun makes his move and decides to try and sweet-talk Ju-kyung into submission. However, Suho steps up when he walks away and grabs Ju-kyung's wrist, telling her not to go. Suho tells Ju-kyung not to go with Seo-jun as he has something to say. Only he can't think of anything romantic and stalls, asking her about their studies instead. In class, Ju-kyung remains standoffish with Seo-jun, who continues to try and win her over. However, Suho does the same, encouraging Ju-kyung to sit next to him during science class. He even buys her favorite strawberry drink too. At lunch, Seo-jun decides to sit next to Ju-kyung, but she tells him to get lost. Instead, he tries to win her over with a whole stack of side dishes. Instead, she spits her food all over his face by accident. In the hallway, Seo-jun then catches her before she falls on the floor, until she headbutts him for getting too close. In music class, a girl called Go-woon shines, but her classmates lament her talents and slap the girl across the face. As Ju-kyung watches from the doorway, this scene is eerily reminiscent of her own issues. This is only exacerbated when Ju-kyung recognizes her old bully when she gets on the bus later that day. As she steps off, she breathes heavily and struggles to compose herself. While Ju-kyung heads home, she sees her brother reenacting a scene from Crash Landing until she slaps him on the back and calls him a punk. As the two fight, Suho rings and she tries her best to compose herself. She eventually shows up to see Suho, where they both wind up playing basketball together. When she stumbles, Suho grabs Ju-kyung and pulls her close as the two try in vain to hide their feelings for one another. At school the next day, Ju-kyung and Suho get involved in gym class while Seo-jun tries in vain to win Ju-kyung over. Instead, he receives a ball to the back of the head for his troubles. Afterwards, Go-woon continues to experiencing bullying until Ju-kyung shows up with a bucket of water and soaks the trio of girls. Thinking quickly, she claims Go-woon is her sister and hurries after the girl. She heads up to Oriji rooftop where Ju-kyung talks to her about what she's going through. She decides to try and help Go-woon fix up her makeup. Suho approaches her though and calls her a busybody. However, he also tells her she's pretty without makeup. On the way home, Ju-kyung invites Suho out to go to the movies, and he accepts. They decide to watch a horror together, and both of them head home with a big smile on their faces. That is, until Seo-jun phones Suho, of course. Suho openly admits that he likes Ju-kyung and wants Seo-jun to lay off. However, he scoffs at the notion and claims that he too may be interested. Meanwhile, Hee-kyung waits for Jun-woo outside school and asks for her money back. When he's not able to do that, she instead invites him out for dinner. It's an awkward affair, to say the least, but eventually leads to Hee-kyung admitting she's fallen for him. As the schools celebrate a festival, Ju-kyung takes Go-woon aside and decides to help apply her makeup. Go-woon shows to do her solo part and immediately draws the attention of everyone. She absolutely nails her solo and even brings a standing ovation too. As everyone comments how pretty she is, it turns out Seo-jun is actually Go-woon's sister. At school the next day, Suho is completely standoffish and tells her to leave and stop bugging him. As she walks out, dressed in her pig outfit, Seo-jun happens to be waiting outside the room and hears everything. As it turns out, Seo-jun is using what happened to Se-yeon as blackmail against him. Seo-jun even calls Suho a murderer. On the basketball court, Suho and Seo-jun find themselves on opposite sides of the court, dividing opinion while Ju-kyung watches from behind her mask. Suho eventually confronts Seo-jun and tells his frustrations out of Ju-kyung, walking away from the matchup. That evening, Se-yeon's song is played during the nighttime antics, and it immediately causes Suho's eyes to water. As we cut back in time, we see more flashbacks where Suho ignored calls from Se-yeon when he needed his friend. Unfortunately, this failed call eventually led to Se-yeon committing suicide. Back in the present, Ju-kyung notices Suho doubled over and weeping. He tells Ju-kyung to go as Seo-jun watches from afar. Realizing that Ju-kyung is caught in the middle of all this, he begins to doubt what's happening. Back home, Ju-kyung realizes that the guy who helped her off the rooftop happens to be Suho. Now, his words to her earlier in the season have a lot more meaning. She heads up to the rooftop with his jacket in hand and finds Suho there. She immediately kneels opposite him and learns that this spot, up on the rooftop, is where Se-yeon committed suicide originally. She leans forward and throws her arms around Suho, comforting him. After comforting Suho, Ju-kyung tells him she knows everything. He reassures her that he's okay, but it's clear he's not. Anyway, they're suddenly interrupted by a fire alarm that sends everyone in the building up to the rooftop. Suho does his best to protect Ju-kyung, eventually walking her down the stairs to the bus stop. Ju-kyung gets on her bus, but before she does, tells Suho that sometimes it's okay to cry. Suho's father, Lee Ju-hun, shows up when his son arrives home, but it's clear Suho wants nothing to do with him. Given the parent-teacher conference coming up, Suho shrugs him off and simply tells his father to leave and not bother. Back home, Seo-jun and Go-woon share noodles while discussing her school woes, and in particular, how she was bullied. It's news to Seo-jun's ears, but when he learns Ju-kyung was responsible for helping her gain confidence, he's clearly very grateful. Seo-jun even confronts her at school the next day, but is rudely interrupted by his gang of lackeys, egging him on and causing a big scene. With Parent-Teacher Day upon us, Ju-kyung's bad grades are certainly a cause for concern. However, her mother immediately forgets this and becomes infatuated by the arrival of Suho's father. Looking dreamily into his eyes, she eventually asks for his autograph and totally fangirls over him. Unfortunately, news of this spreads all around the school as Suho's father's popularity becomes a big talking point. Suho is fed up though and eventually walks away. We then cut back in time to the moments following Seon's death. It turns out Soo-ho's dad heartlessly kicked Seon out from his entertainment group. Seo-jun confronted him, but Joo-hun is less than compassionate about the whole deal, nonchalantly brushing it aside like nothing. Back in the present, Hyun-suk composes herself back home and properly looks over Joo-kyung's bad grades. Tasking drastic measures, she bags up all of Joo-kyung's makeup and threatens to throw it out. At the same time, Soo-jin thinks over her past in the bathroom, specifically her father's high expectations for her. When he found out her grades weren't higher, she received a meaty slap across the face for her troubles. After school, Joo-kyung decides to help Go-woon with her makeup at her place. Seo-jun dances out of his room though, believing he's on his own. Only, he's not, as both Joo-kyung and Go-woon watch him with amusement. When Joo Zero-kyung leaves later that evening, he follows and apologizes for the embarrassment, going on to thank Joo-kyung for what she's done for his sister. When Joo-kyung heads home, it turns out Soo-ho is there with an enthusiastic Hyun-soo. She's determined to cook for him, but it's obviously she's trying to get in Joo-hun's good books. Collecting the table for dinner, Soo-ho speaks to Joo-young and admits that he likes Joo-kyung, even without makeup on. During dinner, Joo-kyung and Joo-young fight for space under the table, eventually leading to Joo-kyung falling in Soo-ho's lap. Just as things get back on track again, a drunken Hee-kyung heads home and stumbles over the electric cables, unplugging everything. Joo-kyung switches on her phone light after some fumbling around and finds Soo-ho trapped under a family bundle. Hee-kyung is untouched though, hungrily gulping down bowls of food at the table. Later on, Hee-kyung invites Joo-kyung along to the sauna with her as a way of detoxing from the alcohol. Only Seo-jun shows up while there, and it causes Joo-kyung to try and fend off the humidity for an extended period of time. Meanwhile, Soo-ho gets the bus home, but freezes when he hears a ringing phone. This brings back memories from the past of him refusing to answer Seon's phone calls. Scrambling off the bus and trying to regain his composure, he notices Joo-kyung on the other side of the road hurrying into a burger joint. Unfortunately, their Joo-kyung runs into her old bullies. They knock her down on the ground and ask for her number. Instead, she turns and runs away. Although she drops her wallet on the ground, Soo-ho shows and manages to grab it, Joo-kyung's own guardian angel. Eventually, Soo-ho comforts her in the alleyway and tells Joo-kyung it's okay, giving her his hat. At the same time, bully Sun-ho tries picking a fight with Seo-jun, but he simply scoffs at the notion, unwilling to fight with this boy. It's clear there's tensions between them though. Meanwhile, Jun-ho and Hee-kyung continue to grow closer together, hiding under an umbrella together in the rain. Eventually, she leans forward and kisses him tenderly. At school the next day, Joo-kyung teases Seo-jun over his underwear antics. Her teasing roar, complete with cute hand gestures, is enough for him to begin falling for her. Only a massive spanner is thrown in the works as Park Se-mi and the other bullies figure out that Joo-kyung may well be at the other school in town. Later that day, Joo-kyung is surrounded by all the bullies who corner her in an alleyway. They take her to a noribang and phone Seo-jun asking him to show up and save his girlfriend. Given he's with Soo-ho at the time, both of them rush there and take out the gang. Soo-ho flips one of them onto the table and looks set to throw a punch. As he does, Joo-kyung looks dreamily at him. Han Jun-woo arriving at work glowing after his kiss with Hee-kyung. As he enters the teacher's office, he finds all the karaoke kids being punished for the brawl that happened the previous night. That is, until Seo-jun and Joo-kyung arrive and tell him they're also to blame, along with Soo-ho and all the other kids. The punishment is cut short, though, by Hee-kyung sending flowers for Jun-woo at school. Given it's exam season, the rest of the kids begin studying vigorously. In the hallway, Seo-jun asks Joo-kyung to do her infamous roar again. It's just the ticket needed for both Soo-ho and Seo-jun to look longingly at Joo-kyung from across the classroom. As class is dismissed, Joo-kyung invites Soo-ho along to the comic store. Instead, he asks her to study with him the following day. As they sit together and study, that soon turns into a dreamy look from them both, until Soo-ae, Tae-hoon, and Soo-jun show up. Soo-ho immediately berates Joo-kyung in front of them before eventually leaving. As he does, Soo-ho manages to make the karaoke guy apologize to Joo-kyung. That evening, Joo-kyung and Soo-jin head out to eat, where the former notices scars across her friend's hand. It turns out she washes her hands constantly when she's stressed. It's an intimate heart-to-heart, and one that sees them grow closer together in time for the next day's round of exam questions. After their exam, the kids head out to watch a baseball game with Soo-jin's celeb crush, Young-jin. Only after the game, he catches up with Joo-kyung and asks for her number. Soo-ho obviously gets jealous and walks away in a huff. In fact, he heads straight to the baseball range and starts hitting balls. Tae-hoon happens to be with him though, and clearly realizes that Soo-ho is jealous and falling for Joo-kyung. That evening, Hyung-jin shows up and decides to walk Joo-kyung home. At school the next day, the exam results come back and Seo-jun happens to have a higher score than Joo-kyung. Given all he did was mark everything with a number 3, Joo-kyung's lucky number, it's a kick in the teeth for her. Soo-jin, meanwhile, bags 4th place but screws up her results and looks on in frustration. After class, the teacher speaks to Soo-jin about the results and her unconventional mistakes from question 30 onwards. She doesn't give too much away though, and eventually walks off. As she does, Hyung-jin shows up at school to greet Joo-kyung. He hands over his baseball and invites her along to the final game of the season. That is, until a teacher spots him in the classroom. He quickly bolts for the window and walks out of the school campus. When Joo-kyung returns home, she learns that her mother has thrown away all her cosmetics and makeup. The two come to blows with a teary-eyed Joo-kyung telling her that this makeup is important. Joo-kyung begins crying as she heads outside. Soo-ho shows up, but instead of the romantic gesture he concocted with Tae-hoon, he instead takes Joo-kyung out to the comic store for noodles. Sitting together, Soo-ho tells her he's proud of the girl. He even offers to buy Joo-kyung new makeup. After walking her home, Soo-ho gives her a new hair clip and encourages the girl to study hard. At school the next day, Soo-ho follows Soo-jin. When he sees that she's upset, she berates him for being at the same school and begins crying. As Soo-ho embraces the girl, Joo-kyung happens to see this from afar and rushes away to the bathroom. There she thinks over what Soo-ho said before at school, specifically about liking someone, and believes that that person is Soo-jin. This causes her to go on a jealous rampage at home, beating her teddy relentlessly as she believes Soo-ho was leading her on. At work, Jun-woo drops off a gift for Hee-kyung, which immediately sees her hurry over to his place. In fact, her greeting soon turns into so much more, as she kisses him all the way up to his apartment. Joo-kyung heads to the department store and starts shopping for a birthday present. Only, Seo-jun happens to be there, and together they search for makeup for his sister. After buying some lipstick, they get in an elevator heading down, but Soo-ho shows up and holds Joo-kyung's hand. Unfortunately, both guys are holding on as the elevator breaks down. Only Joo-kyung is desperate for the toilet and rushes away as security pry open the doors. As Joo-kyung eventually heads outside, both Seo-jun and Soo-ho intend to greet Joo-kyung again, but instead Young-jin happens to be there with an umbrella. As we cut forward in time, we see both boys show up at the baseball game. With no Joo-kyung in sight, they wind up celebrating and hugging together instead. Afterwards, the pair discuss the reasons for being at the game, and both admit that they like Joo-kyung. Soo-ho decides to make a grand gesture and confess his feelings to Joo-kyung. At the same time, Seo-jun convinces his family that it's not a sin to fall in love. The next day, Hee-kyung drives Joo-kyung to school with the hope of seeing Jun-woo again. While she catches up with the teacher, Joo-kyung prepares for her school trip. On the bus, she's stuck sitting next to Seo-jun, while Soo-ho sits with Soo-jin. When they arrive in the woods, the girls all set up their tent, as the conversation quickly turns to Soo-ho and who he likes. The others are convinced it's Soo-jin, especially as they make a great couple and tease her about it. Joo-kyung is understandably quiet. During the group games, Seo-jun and Joo-kyung are teamed up together, while Soo-ho and Soo-jin are placed in the same team. However, Soo-ho can't help but stare at Joo-kyung. This game, which sees everyone getting as close as they can, ends with Seo-jun holding Joo-kyung and Soo-ho holding Soo-jin. When Seo-jun falls, the other team win. Well, it doesn't stop Soo-ho from staring at Joo-kyung, which continues all through the day. That is until later on in the afternoon, when a local appears and begins talking about a mysterious ghost, one that steals faces and walks around with an ugly face. The kids huddle together closely, hanging on every word, before deciding to conduct a ghost hunt later that day. Hee-kyung stays late at work and reflects on the memorial album she's planning to try and release in Se-yeon's memory. In the past, she had a meeting with Seo-jun, asking if he was a man named Leo who was featured on the album. He claims not to be, but does tell her that he won't allow the album to be released if he has anything to do with it. Hee-kyung is determined to follow through, though, and so too is the CEO, who tasks his associate with speeding up plans to get the album released. That involves moving Hee-kyung to the PR team. The next day on the school trip, the kids play with a micro-lie detector machine. Placing their hand down on the device, this machine pings when you tell the truth. Chaos inevitably breaks out while playing as a group, but privately, Joo-kyung uses it and hears a ping when she says she likes someone. That someone is, of course, Soo-ho, who shows up behind her. Together, they go for a walk and wind up on a rowing boat. In the tranquility of it all, they end up in the middle of the lake. It's the perfect time for Soo-ho to confess his true feelings. As they sit together, Soo-ho is nervous and struggles to get the words out. Eventually, he asks to take a picture with Joo-kyung. However, a fly buzzes around her, and she immediately falls in the water, subsequently removing all her makeup. Unbeknownst to them, though, at the same time, Seo-jun and the others head out to try and catch a glimpse of the ghost they heard about earlier. As they start investigating, the group bump into Joo-kyung and mistake her for the ghost, scrambling away in fear. With Soo-ho and Joo-kyung's data bust, the field trip comes to a disappointing close. On the bus, Joo-kyung sleeps thanks to Seo-jun comforting her, but when Soo-ho shows up, Seo-jun gently moves Joo-kyung's head onto his shoulder. Given the bracelet he's placed on her, Soo-ho is angry and tells him to get off the bus. As he does, Soo-ho and Seo-jun begin trading blows before eventually collapsing in the field. Later that day, Yoo Tae-hoon convinces Soo-ho to confess his feelings to Joo-kyung rather than messing around. Joo-kyung overhears this, though, and believes he's discussing Soo-jin. Well, that night, the group take it in turns to showcase their talents before heading home. Seo-jun gets up and sings, but his song is directed toward Joo-kyung, who in turn can't stop looking at Soo-ho. When Soo-jin sits next to him, though, Joo-kyung quickly gets up and walks away. Tae-hoon follows and does Soo-ho a big favor, telling Joo-kyung to head southeast. Only what should be a romantic meeting between Soo-ho and Joo-kyung is crushed when she bumps into Soo-jin instead. Joo-kyung sobs in defeat, telling Seo-jun that she likes Soo-ho, but wants him to keep it a secret. Soo-ho appears in the distance, though, and notices her crying. Eventually, Soo-ho catches up with Joo-kyung and tells her it's a misunderstanding that he likes Soo-jin. Before he can elaborate on exactly who he does like, they're both forced to leave when the ghost hunting group return and chase them. Anyway, they finally get a moment together where Soo-ho admits that the person he likes is actually Joo-kyung and kisses her tenderly. Soo-ho kisses Joo-kyung until she suddenly pulls away. She believes it may be a trick and wonders whether he's just taking pity on her. Soo-ho reassures her that he's not, but it's clear Joo-kyung is struggling to comprehend this. A nervous Soo-ho puts the necklace on her, though, a symbolic act to show they're together now. Joo-kyung suddenly blurts out that she dreams of him all the time. As she rushes off, Soo-ho can't help but smile. When Joo-kyung returns to camp, she calls out for Soo-jin, but suddenly realizes she's not wearing makeup. Soo-jin is understanding, though, and listens as she discusses how different it was for her to suddenly begin wearing makeup. Soo-jin smiles warmly and tells Joo-kyung not to be swayed by what others think. She offers to hide Joo-kyung, taking her back to her tent. While everyone else sleeps, Soo-ho and Joo-kyung begin exchanging text messages to one another while thinking back over their kiss. At school the next day, Soo-ho tries to give Joo-kyung some strawberry juice, but she regrets it and tells him to leave. In fact, this continues throughout the day as Joo-kyung tries to keep their relationship a secret. She even sends a message reading "Incinerator," which happens to be where they're to meet. In secret, Joo-kyung admits that she could get in trouble with the bullies who are vying for Soo-ho's affection. For now, she wants to keep things quiet. She also struggles to call him her boyfriend. Well, they are technically a couple now. They head out together and begin eating food. However, Joo-kyung's schoolmates suddenly show up. Soo-ho hides his face under the table and manages to avoid being caught. After eating, Joo-kyung notices that the celebrity, Selena, is out giving a talk. After winning a prize, she bumps into the girl in the bathroom. Selena tells Joo-kyung she's using the wrong tone of lipstick and gives the girl some useful tips to take with her going forward. As she leaves, Selena turns around and tells Joo-kyung she should keep working hard. An ecstatic Joo-kyung heads home, but inadvertently pulls her hand away when Soo-ho tries to hold it. At the bus stop in the morning, Joo-kyung falls asleep on Seo-jun's shoulder. He eventually wakes her up though, and she quizzes him over why he's not riding his bike to school. It turns out he actually stopped riding it thanks to Joo-kyung's comments several episodes ago. Seo-jun keeps this quiet though, and eventually winds up running to school. At school, Joo-kyung and Soo-ho continue to pretend they're not dating. Unfortunately, Joo-kyung sends a picture of her and Soo-ho together to Hyun-kyu by mistake, prompting her to hurry out and try to delete the message from his phone before he sees it. Well, she manages to do it, but Seo-jun takes a peek and sees the picture of them together. That evening, Soo-ho and Joo-kyung head back to Prince Comics. Only Go-woon is actually there instead, making it off limits to them. Elsewhere, a jealous Im Hee-kyung barges in on Lee Ye-rim and Jun-woo out for drinks that evening. An embarrassed Jun-woo takes Hee-kyung outside, especially when she calls herself his girlfriend. He pulls away and eventually walks off. At school the next day, Soo-jin spies the necklace around Joo-kyung's neck and realizes that she's dating Soo-ho. She's obviously not happy, while Joo-kyung continues to try and bag herself a part-time job. However, she finds it difficult to get a big break. While at the mall, she runs into Seo-jun, who happens to be doing a big photo shoot. Joo-kyung tags along, but she's encouraged to get involved and have her photos taken too. In fact, they have them taken as a couple, and the photographer eventually snaps some of them together on the sofa. Afterwards, the pair head out for food together, where Joo-kyung admits she wants to get involved in makeup as a career. While talking to Seo-jun, she misses a call from Soo-ho, but does admit that she's dating him. Soo-jin, meanwhile, heads out for dinner with her parents. It's a quick encounter, one that sees Soo-ho there too. On the way home, he rings Joo-kyung, but this is short-lived, given he bumps into Joo-kyung's father, acting like a bird and catching food out the air. He's out of money and doesn't seem to have anywhere to go. Soo-ho takes him back to his apartment and allows the man to shower and sleep for the night. It turns out they're both fans of Sun Heung-min and tune in to watch Tottenham in the middle of the night. Unfortunately, this late night causes Soo-ho to run late for school. After getting dressed and preparing to go, Im Jae-pil stays behind to do the washing up. He waves goodbye to Soo-ho, which reminds the boy of his father. At school, Soo-ho takes Joo-kyung away from Seo-jun, who happens to help out Joo-kyung and has her working as a dishwasher. It's hard work, but she does do a pretty good job, until she gets scalding coffee across her arm. When Seo-jun finds out she's hurt, he races up to the coffee shop to see Joo-kyung. Only when he gets there, she's already left. Instead, it turns out she's learning karate with Soo-ho. While they grow closer together, with Soo-ho saving her as girlfriend in his phone, Soo-jin struggles to concentrate, phoning Soo-ho and getting through to his voicemail. When she heads out, she sees Soo-ho and Joo-kyung together across the street and struggles to control her emotions. Soo-ho invites Joo-kyung up to his apartment and gives her some clothes to wear. Afterwards, Soo-ho plucks up the courage to open up his studio again, the same one he and Se-yeon shared when he was alive. Midway through talking, Joo-kyung's stomach growls, which sends Soo-ho out to pick up a takeaway, which is delivered to them. As they sit together and watch a scary movie, it turns out Im Jae-pil is still in the house after getting blind drunk on Soo-ho's alcohol. He's hiding under the table, and as he takes a peek outside, he sees Joo-kyung and Soo-ho together. Racing at them, Joo-kyung hits him in the head with a lamp, which knocks him out. Suddenly, she realizes it's her father. Joo-kyung walks her father home. She's incredibly embarrassed after the incident with Soo-ho, but they agree to remain tight-lipped about what's going on. The pair sneak off home. Joo-kyung eventually heads inside and speaks to Soo-ho on the phone. The next day, Soo-jin continues to feel disappointed about what she saw the previous day. Sitting with Joo-kyung, she admits that her father hits her and that she likes Soo-ho. Joo-kyung's taken aback by this, though, and concocts an entire scenario in her head about everyone in school turning against her. On the back of this, she decides to skip her study session and let Soo-jin go with Soo-ho. Meanwhile, Joo-kyung meets Soo-jin for a spot of clothes shopping. In fact, Soo-jin is actually there to buy a present for Soo-ho. She casts doubts in Joo-kyung's mind, telling her that they have a 10-year history and asks whether Soo-ho would outright reject her. When Joo-kyung leaves, Soo-jin's smile quickly fades and turns into a scowl. Joo-kyung heads to work and greets Seo-jun, who happens to be filling in for her. Well, eventually they work together where Seo-jun teases her about breaking up. After Ju-kyung fake cries, their shift ends and the duo take the bus home. On the way, she asks for advice from Seo-jun, using a friend of a friend excuse. After running into Hyun-suk at Prince Comics, Seo-jun happily accepts an invitation to join Ju-kyung's family for dinner. Only it turns out Suho is already there. Suho and Seo-jun begin competing for points from the family. Points which Seo-jun wins. Eventually, the inevitable happens, and both Suho and Seo-jun fight. Well, at school the next day, things take a turn for the worst when Seo-jun and Ju-kyung's photos blow up all over school. There are t-shirts printed, banners, and more. Suho is understandably not happy and confronts Ju-kyung about what's happened. He mentions male-female friendships, and Ju-kyung immediately bites back and mentions Soo-jin. Things are understandably tense between them, prompting both to head into class with a lot on their minds. Hee-kyung heads in to visit Director Oh and asks him about the changed song. He accuses the director of plagiarizing Seon's work, but he scoffs at the notion and walks away. He even warns Hee-kyung that if she still wants a job, then she needs to keep her mouth shut and do her work. At Suho's house, Soo-jin notices Ju-kyung phoning through and immediately answers. When she hangs up, Soo-jin tries to win Suho over with the gift from earlier. He rejects it though and reveals that he has a girlfriend. However, he fails to disclose exactly who that is. Suho visits Ju-kyung at work and demands to speak to her. Only she's in the middle of her shift. Seo-jun lets her go though and promises she can head out to see him. Once there, Suho decides they should open up and tell everyone about their relationship. Ju-kyung is still a little uneasy and conflicted between love and friendship. Unfortunately, it sees them go their separate ways and head home alone. The next day, Seon's song releases on the radio. Hee-kyung is absolutely furious and heads in to see the director. It turns out he released details surrounding Seon's school violence simply to cover for one incriminating photo of him and a young actress together. After threatening the director, Suho shows up at the office, but he can't bear to face the director. As he walks away, he heads straight into Seo-jun's path, and together they get hit by a car. Both boys are rushed into hospital as we see more of the past play out. Suho, Seon, and Seo-jun were best friends and practiced music together all the time. When the scandal about violence surrounding Seon broke, Suho was nowhere to be found. In fact, he ignored calls from Seon when he tried ringing. Unfortunately, Seon went online and saw some pretty nasty comments about him. This seems to have been the catalyst that caused Seon to commit suicide. When Suho eventually rushed to the scene that evening, his friend was already dead. Back in the present, Ju-kyung heads up to see Soo-jin. She breaks the news to her that she's currently dating Suho and apologizes. She doesn't want to deceive the girl anymore, but also doesn't want to lose Soo-jin as a friend. Soo-jin seems to forgive her, allowing Ju-kyung to hug her. But as the camera lingers on her face, she's a blank slate. When Ju-kyung heads home, her sister breaks the news that Suho was involved in a car accident. Shocked and worried, Ju-kyung rushes up to the hospital. There, she happens upon both Suho and Seo-jun sharing a hospital room. It turns out Lee Joo-hun is already there, and now we see the truth surrounding what happened in the past. It turns out Jo-hun was unaware of the scandal surrounding Seon to an extent. The incriminating pictures of him with the young lady in a parking lot caused Director Oh to take his initiative without consulting Ju-ho first. He used Seon as a scapegoat and broke the news about the scandal. At that time, bullies were circulating hate comments online and accused Seon of being kept in a juvenile detention center. Director Oh simply used that knowledge and gave it a nudge, essentially destroying Seon's life. Ju-ho is furious, grabbing the director by the scruff of his shirt and accusing him of stealing a song from a dead boy. Tensions continue to simmer, especially as Seo-jun and Suho discuss the musical instruments and issues from the past. When Ju-ho shows up the next day, Suho refuses to engage with his father. In fact, he turns away after overhearing Hee-kyung's accusations the previous day and lets a single tear fall down his face. When he leaves defeated, Seo-jun's mother shows up and talks about their past. She mentions how close the pair used to be and comments how Seo-jun's nickname used to be Dribs and Drabs. Back at school, Soo-jin learns about the accident from Ju-kyung and tries in vain to hide her annoyance that she didn't tell her earlier. However, Soo-jin is called into the office as there's a new transfer student called Hee-min. the same Hee-min who used to be Joo-kyung's best friend at the previous school. Unfortunately, the bullies catch up and force Hee-min to do her bidding. Specifically, they want to find out if Joo-kyung is dating Seo-jun. While Hee-kyung and Jun-woo discuss whether to keep their relationship a secret from Joo-kyung, our girl heads up to hospital to give some books to Soo-ho. Only when he opens the door, he finds Soo-ho and Seo-jun in bed together. Soo-ho is actually helping Seo-jun get dressed, but it definitely looks a little awkward. Joo-young shows up to drop off soup and feigns an injury when he sees Ga-woon out in the hallway. Eventually, he finds out that Seo-jun is actually Ga-woon's brother and immediately perks up with enthusiasm, determined to try and win the girl over. On his way home, Joo-young almost sees Hee-kyung and Jun-woo together, but the latter manages to bolt from the scene before being spotted. Hee-kyung, however, speaks to her sister about the makeup course and agrees to keep it a secret for now from their mother. When they say goodbye to each another, Lee Ye-rim spies Joo-kyung leaving the car and realizes the family connection. Back at the hospital, Seo-jun and Soo-ho's bromance is cut short by Yoo-hun, returning and deciding they should talk. Soo-ho is irate, smashing a glass on the floor as he echoes what we heard earlier from the director. Together, Soo-ho mentions the missed call and how heartbroken he's been over it all this time. In fact, his bad blood with Joo-hun goes back further than that, given his father actually cheated on his mother on the day she passed away. As a child, Soo-ho saw this take place, so him cheating is not an isolated incident. As Soo-ho takes a turn for the worse, overcome with stress from the whole ordeal, Seo-jun speaks to Soo-ho's father and breaks the news that Leo is actually Soo-ho and not him. Joo-hun is determined to find out the truth and shows up at Soo-ho's place. There he sees the musical instruments himself and finally starts to understand. Speaking of understanding, back in the hospital, Seo-jun and Soo-ho work through their differences. Soo-ho still regrets not picking the phone up, which is what's driven most of his heartache all this time. While they talk, news breaks on TV that Joo-hun is retiring as CEO and has outright admitted about the plagiary. When Soo-jin finds out, she rushes to hospital to see Soo-ho. Only Joo-kyung is already there, and she hugs Soo-ho tightly after the news. The pair eventually kiss just as Soo-jin shows up and sees them both together. Blinded by rage, she walks away purposefully. As she leaves, Soo-jin heads back home and is immediately slapped in the face by her father for being late. Hurrying into her room, she shuts the door and holds it as her father pounds on the other side. Joo-kyung and Soo-ho discuss the latter's father and all the resentment he's kept pent up toward him. Well, Joo-hun's confession seems like the start of his road to redemption as Soo-ho heads back home and checks out his piano. Only it turns out Se-yeon actually left a note for Soo-ho and Seo-jun kept down the side of the piano. Within the note, he thanks Soo-ho and Seo-jun for brightening up his life and how being with his precious friends was the best moment of his life. Well, the healing continues as Seo-jun and Soo-ho both visit his grave and apologize to one another. After a close call with a group of thugs, Soo-ho and Seo-jun hitch a ride back to the town again. Meanwhile, Joo-kyung arrives at the beauty college to enroll. She's overwhelmed by the sights and prepares to fill out her application form. Afterwards, she rings Soo-ho to say goodnight, but is immediately interrupted by her brother arriving and farting. In the morning, Soo-ho arrives to pick Joo-kyung up and take her to school. However, trouble brews as Soo-jin finds Hye-min and begins walking with her. She runs straight into Joo-kyung, but she hurriedly ignores her old friend. Soo-jin senses what's up and heads into class. There, the girls fuss over the upcoming Goddess of Instagram competition. Joo-kyung is in second place, but in first place is her old bully, Park Se-mi. At break, Soo-jin approaches Soo-ho and asks to talk later on. Well, Soo-ho outright admits to her that he's currently in a relationship with Joo-kyung and only sees her as a friend. Back inside, Hee-min mentions her old school, and Soo-jin does her best to go Joo-kyung into admitting she's from the same school. Instead, she decides to walk away. Soo-jin immediately senses something is up and sets out to humiliate Joo-kyung. Before that, though, Joo-kyung arrives at school and learns that she's won the Instagram Goddess competition. Joo-kyung is not happy, and while the other students crowd around and applaud her, Soo-jin remains in the corner, watching expressionlessly. On the way home from school, Joo-kyung runs into Se-min again. While Hye-min is being bullied, Joo-kyung takes the girl aside and saves her from her ordeal. Unfortunately, Soo-jin stays there and asks the bullies about Yongpa High. With scheming taking place, Joo-kyung asks Hye-min to keep her past a secret and tells her she's struggling to forgive her. Soo-ho senses something is up with Joo-kyung, especially when he talks to Seo-jun about what's happening. Well, Soo-ho's later conversation with Joo-kyung doesn't bring up any clues, but at school the next day, tensions are high. Soo-jin snaps pictures of Seo-jun to send over to Se-mi, while she receives pictures of Joo-kyung without makeup on in exchange. After losing her necklace, Joo-kyung frantically looks everywhere for it. However, Soo-jin is the one who has it, and she keeps quiet. That is, until she runs into Soo-ho later that day. She throws the necklace in a flaming bin and tells Soo-ho that she likes him. She asks Soo-ho to break up with Joo-kyung and begs him to like her instead. She even tries to kiss him too. Obviously, Soo-ho rejects the desperately clingy girl and leaves her to stew. Soo-ho decides to plant another necklace in a flower pot nearby where Joo-kyung is looking and eventually kisses her. Only school security rock up and force the pair to hide out in the classrooms. Only that's precisely where Hee-kyung and Junwoo are After an awkward dinner, the two couples head home while Se-min finds out where Joo-kyung lives and heads straight there to cause trouble. Seo-jun follows in hot pursuit though and asks them exactly what they're doing. When they show her picture from Yongpa, he looks shocked and eventually smashes the girl's phone on the floor. Given how Seon was bullied, he's having absolutely none of this and purposefully walks away. At school the next day, snow is falling, but Soo-jin puts her plan into action and spreads all the pictures about Joo-kyung. When she shows up in class, all the students approach her and show the pictures from Yongpa. Joo-kyung is understandably shocked and struggles not to cry as her painful past comes back. She rushes out the school as Soo-ho can only stand and watch her leave. Distraught and upset, she's grabbed by the bullies and taken into the bathroom. They want to know exactly how she seduced Soo-ho and start wiping off the makeup from Joo-kyung's face. Thankfully, Soo-ho stops them, but it's too much for Joo-kyung, and she hurries away. It's here Seo-jun learns the truth about Joo-kyung's appearance, seeing the original video of her being bullied and marches off purposefully. Seo-jun heads to Yongpa High and confronts Se-mi over what happened with Joo-kyung. She admits it wasn't her that spread the video and hints that it's someone from their class. Of course, we know the real culprit is Soo-jin. Seo-jun figures it out too and marches back to school, dragging Soo-jin outside and calling the girl a piece of trash. She refuses to delete the video, prompting Seo-jun to tell her she's only destroyed herself, not Joo-kyung, by doing this. As news of Joo-kyung's identity spreads across school, Joo-young loses his temper and begins beating down one of the boys watching the video. That is, until Ga-woon arrives and tells him to head outside to cool off. She calls him a good boy, but reminds him that violence is never the answer. She hands over a plaster to patch up his hand and walks away. As the situation in class escalates, Junwoo questions whether he's the reason all of this is happening. Given it's on the eve of Joo-kyung finding out about him and Hee-kyung, he suspects this may be the reason why. Well, the other teachers certainly aren't shy about voicing their opinions, teasing him about dating. Thanks to this pressure, later that evening he rings Hee-kyung and breaks up with her, telling her to wait a year until everything settles down. After saying goodbye, he runs off. Joo-kyung eventually heads home after spending all day by herself and refuses to speak to Soo-ho, who waits by her door. Well, things take a turn for the worst when she heads inside. Her parents confront her about the beauty course and ask how she's affording this. It's here Joo-kyung reveals she has a job and tells her not to get involved in the course. After ripping up the registration card, Hyun-suk demands she get a refund. Meanwhile, Soo-ho learns the truth about his father and how he was shielding him from what happened with Seon. As he walks away, Soo-ho receives a message from him asking to meet as he's leaving the country soon. At school, Junwoo learns the truth about why Joo-kyung wasn't in school the previous day. It wasn't because of his relationship. It's of course because of the online video. Junwoo arrives in class and tells his students just how disappointed he is of them. He mentions Joo-kyung's pain and how she's suffering, leading the class to descend into guilty silence. Not long after, Seo-jun heads off to track down the webmaster responsible for posting the video. He finds the freshman and demands she delete it. It seems to work too, although the damage has already been done. At school, Junwoo brings Joo-kyung's mother in and shows her the video of her daughter being bullied. It's the first time Hyun-suk is seeing this, and she's understandably shocked. At the same time, Joo-kyung shows up at Soo-jin's house and confronts her about the video. Soo-jin nonchalantly tells her to run away since she's so good at that, shutting the door in the girl's face. When Joo-kyung heads home, Hyun-suk throws her arms around Joo-kyung and demands to know who was bullying her, now knowing the truth about what happened in the past. The whole family is supportive, doing their best to try and build Joo-kyung's shattered confidence back up again. In fact, Hyun-suk even brings her to a plastic surgery clinic just to break the news that she looks just as pretty with makeup on. Later that evening, Joo-kyung hides out at Prince Comics where Soo-ho arrives to see her. After making her laugh a little, Soo-ho holds the girl in his arms and tells her he missed her. They have a nice evening together, interspersed by Seo-jun's worried text to Soo-ho trying to make sure Joo-kyung is okay. Well, Soo-ho even leaves a really cheesy video message for her, taking cues from Yoo Dae-hoon to try and cheer Joo-kyung up. On the back of this, Soo-ho rings his father and learns he's going to be in the US for a bit. He gives Soo-ho the option of living with him in America, but he refuses. Instead, Soo-ho asks him to buy something delicious when he returns to Korea again. It seems like this father-son relationship may actually heal after all. At school, Joo-kyung shows up again with no makeup on and wearing her glasses. Well, maybe a bit of makeup as her spots are gone. She shows up in class and smiles warmly, greeting her friends as they all ask if she's okay. Soo-ae, meanwhile, runs away. Joo-kyung's newfound confidence sees her arrive in the hallway and admit to everyone she's dating Soo-ho. This is eventually confirmed when Soo-ho shows up and hugs her. As shocked screams from the other girls ring out, they can only watch as the pair walk off hand in hand. Joo-kyung remains determined to be true to herself now, and that includes walking into class holding hands with Soo-ho. Soo-jin is obviously not happy. Meanwhile, Junwoo continues to be swayed by Hee-kyung, seeing her car parked up at school and throwing leaves at it. When Jae-pil and Hyun-suk step out, though, he's immediately flustered and heads back to class. Only when he sees Joo-kyung there, he starts crying. When Joo-kyung and Soo-jin both happen to be using the bathroom at the same time, Soo-ae shows up and reveals that she heard everything the previous day. She knows Soo-jin was the one who spread the videos and confronts her over it. It turns out Soo-ae's unhappiness simply stems from Joo-kyung not telling her the truth about her face and dating Soo-ho. As they both start crying and hugging each other, they finally patch up their differences. Meanwhile, Seo-jun continues to feel torn over what to do. He has clear feelings for Joo-kyung, but knows that she's with Soo-ho. Well, Joo-kyung and Seo-jun wind up talking in the study hall as he accidentally wakes her up. She thanks him for taking down the video. That evening, Joo-kyung plucks up the courage to go after Se-mi and the other girls while they're bullying Heemin. She shows up without any makeup on and confronts her past. She throws her food directly at Se-mi's face as Soo-ae, Heemin, and Joo-kyung all team up together to beat down the bullies. Eventually, it ends with Cho-rong arriving and telling the others he'll handle this from now on. After a busy day, Joo-kyung heads home, but she's too exhausted to message Soo-ho back. As we soon see, Soo-ho is desperate to speak to Joo-kyung, but his friends from school tell him he needs to play it cool and refrain from messaging her. Well, he does just this and winds up having a bad dream about Joo-kyung ditching her and dating Seo-jun. Joo-kyung is busy with her cosmetology class as Hee-kyung shows up to see Junwoo, who's blind drunk at the food tent. After putting him in her car, Hyun-suk spies the infamous Columbus Park in the shop and chases him down the street. Hee-kyung spins round and takes him out with a swift forearm to the chin, just as Junwoo staggers out the car and begins retching. Elsewhere, Seo-jun arrives before Soo-ho and after a day together, admitting that he wants his permission to tell Joo-kyung exactly how he feels about her. Well, this is made harder by Soo-ho eventually professing his love. Joo-kyung smiles warmly as it seems these two are going to stay together. Back home, the family gather around the table to eat breakfast. Only Junwoo happens to be asleep on the sofa. Hee-kyung wakes up her grapefruit and he tentatively sits and eats with them. At school the next day, the tables have turned as details about Soo-jin spread online, calling her a psychopath and likening her to a villain. She's obviously not happy and believes Seo-jun is the one to spread it. Out of all the people to go after her, it's Joo-kyung who does. Even after everything that's happened, she tries to win her over and go back to how they were. Instead, Soo-jin walks away. She makes it round the corner and starts crying. We then cut forward in time as Ju Kyung passes her cosmetology exam. Seo Jun decides to finally tell Ju Kyung the truth and rings her, asking to meet one-on-one to talk. Soo-ho allows her to meet, as if she needed permission, and races up to see him. Things are awkward, so Seo Jun disguises his conundrum by asking her for relationship advice about the girl he likes. Ju Kyung believes his woes are over Sue, and he eventually changes his mind, deciding to keep her in the dark after all. Meanwhile, Soo-ho's father takes a nasty turn while in his office and eventually collapses, right on the back of messaging Soo-ho. At the same time, Hee-kyung approaches Seo Jun after his stunt singing outside and lets him know that he's trending online and a big star now. With the management of her company changed, she asks whether he's ready to start singing again. Before he can give an answer, however, he receives a desperate call asking if he's with Soo-ho. Only Soo-ho is busy out with Ju Kyung at the beach and doesn't see his phone go off. Seo Jun is desperate to try and track them down though, and eventually learns they're by the sea. Rushing up to see him, Soo-ho is given the bad news as it turns out his father has had a brain hemorrhage. Soo-ho is called away to see his father and eventually gets on a plane across to the States, leaving Seo Jun to comfort a crying Ju Kyung, just like he did in the past. Soo-ho arrives to see his father, who's currently in a critical condition in hospital. He apologizes to Soo-ho, doing his best to breathlessly say the words he's been meaning to say for a while. He admits he wasn't sure he'd get another chance, as Soo-ho does his best to try and help him recover. Time passes and Soo-ho stays behind to make sure his father is discharged from hospital. After hanging up on Ju Kyung, promising he'll head home soon, his father has internal bleeding and is rushed into intensive care. Thankfully, Ju-hun survives, but his condition is still precarious. Ju Kyung, unaware of what's happening, heads to the airport to surprise Soo-ho. Of course, he obviously doesn't show up. After the school break, Ju Kyung returns to class and learns that Soo-jin has dropped out to go and study abroad. While that's going on, she messages Soo-ho and is updated on his father's condition. However, Ju Kyung winds up sick too with an upset stomach and is taken into hospital. When she's discharged and heads home, Ju Kyung rings and lets Soo-ho know that she's finally got her license. This news is shattered though by Soo-ho deciding they should break up. He doesn't know how long his father is going to be sick for and believes this is for the best. Despite Ju Kyung telling him she's happy to wait, he refuses to let this occur and presses on with the breakup. We then jump forward to Ju Kyung's college tests in 2021 as she inches closer to her dreams of going to college. She continues to message Soo-ho during this time, letting him know about the snow and hoping that Soo-ho is okay. This message we hear is the last one she sends though, as she eventually says goodbye to her lover. Now we're at the time jump forward as Ju Kyung works on set at a beauty shoot while messaging Seo Jun. This catches us up to the dinner date from last time too, as all our characters from school join together for a big dinner. Ju Kyung collapses and passes out on the table though, eventually leading her to fall into Seo Jun's arms when he shows up. Eventually though, he takes her outside and tries his best to deal with her drunken antics. He eventually takes her home, thinking twice about kissing her in this state, where Seo Jun stays over and joins the family for breakfast. After they discuss the previous night, as Seo Jun outright admits that he likes her. Ju Kyung is stunned and tries to work out exactly when he started to feel this way. Well, before that, though, Ga-woon receives confirmation that she's been accepted for college and kisses Ju Kyung on the cheek. Ju Kyung notices this, and given these two are best friends, she questions her own feelings towards Seo Jun. That evening, Ju Kyung heads out for her dinner date with Seo Jun. He admits to liking her for a long time and confirms that after 3 years, he needs to open up and tell the truth. Well, now that he has, he asks her for 3 dates to try and win her over. Meanwhile, Hee-kyung prepares for her wedding as both he and Jun-woo go dress shopping. Only she's clearly not invested in his tuxedo, especially when he wears the same one twice, and she suspects it's a different one. He feigns disappointment and walks away, preparing in secret to propose to her back home. Elsewhere, Ju Kyung heads out to Namsang to go and think, mulling over Soo-ho's words. However, when she arrives there, she runs into Soo-ho himself, who's looking out at the horizon. He approaches Ju Kyung, who asks outright why he's back given he broke up with her. Soo-ho admits that he's missed her all this time, but Ju Kyung is unwilling to listen. Instead, she walks away. That is, until she clutches her stomach in pain and is taken to hospital. Thankfully, she's okay, suffering from a case of constipation and serious embarrassment. Unable to look at Soo-ho, she hurries away and avoids him, interrupting Hee-kyung's big wedding proposal at home in doing so. After 3 years, Soo-ho still has Joo-kyung saved as girlfriend in his phone, and he tries in vain to contact her. Seo-jun soon learns that Soo-ho is back and that he met with Joo-kyung. The next day, Soo-ho decides to try and win Joo-kyung over, waiting outside her house and showing up at the hairdresser's where she's working. This distracts Joo-kyung all day, completely forgetting about her date with Seo-jun. He doesn't seem to mind though and takes her out ice skating where she falls and cuts her hand. When he tries to patch it up with a plaster, she can't help but think about Soo-ho, who continues to wait outside her house. Eventually, he heads to Prince Comics and messages her, "I'll wait." Well, Seo-jun heads back to Prince Comics where he drops off Joo-kyung. As he hugs her goodbye, Soo-ho appears and sees them both together. Joo-kyung pulls away from her hug with Seo-jun and apologizes. As Seo-jun walks away, he bumps into Soo-ho, and the two head out drinking together. They discuss Seo-jun's date before the two boys stumble home drunk. The next day, Seo-jun breaks the news to Joo-kyung that Soo-ho is heading back to the States. As he says the words, Joo-kyung hurries off, while Seo-jun takes the stairs up back to the studio. Only he stops halfway and begins crying, thinking back over all those times he was with Joo-kyung. This small act happens to be Seo-jun giving up, evidence of him surrendering and giving up fighting over a girl whose heart is clearly set on Soo-ho. Joo-kyung arrives at Soo-ho's apartment and begs him not to go. Only it turns out he's actually unpacking. Well, Soo-ho agrees to drive her back home, and after dropping her off, share a kiss in his car. With Seo-jun's debut coming up, Joo-kyung heads back to the studio and clears the air with Seo-jun, who apologizes for confusing her feelings and knowing that she still isn't over Soo-ho. After clearing the air with him, Joo-kyung heads back to work with the obnoxious Chen. Joo-kyung gets her food, but the celebrity goes one step too far, and Joo-kyung refuses to pick out the cucumbers from her food. As things start to kick off, Soo-jin arrives and saves the day. Taking Joo-kyung out for a drink, Soo-jin explains what happened to her. It turns out her parents got divorced not long after she moved to America. She's been doing volunteer work all this time too, and she's just returned from Haiti. She apologizes to Joo-kyung for what happened in school. With Soo-jin and Joo-kyung patching up their differences, Soo-ho too begins healing as Hee-kyung requests he send in the Missing You song. While he works on finishing up the audio, sending the finished product by email, Joo-kyung enters a competition to model the idol group. She gives her director a presentation and hopes for the best. Meanwhile, Soo-ae and Tae-hoon meet again after being away from one another for so long. Soo-ho and Joo-kyung sleep together while Seo-jun practices his singing for Seyeon's song. After this, everything builds up to Hee-kyung's wedding, where the couple run into trouble when Hee-kyung's head gets stuck between some wooden panels. Despite trying to pull her free, it's no good, and she walks up the aisle with it round her neck. All of this leads to a whole load of dancing at the wedding, and despite its mishaps, produces a touching and fitting celebration for this dysfunctional duo. After, Joo-kyung heads back to work and helps out Seo-jun with his makeup. She didn't make it very far with her presentation, but her director is clearly impressed with her work. Seo-jun's debut goes ahead and it's a rousing success, singing Seyeon's song and finally making it as an artist. Joo-kyung and Soo-ho head back to the comic store too, the place they first met, and kiss.